Hi everyone, it's Charlotte here, and today we're going to be doing a bit more of a chatty video. So this is going to be, hence the title, about the importance of the right size cage for your guinea pigs. Now I'm going to start off and show you a picture, well, kind of like a table of what's the best size for your guinea pigs and if you can offer more, which is preferred, and also if you have males as to females. So this also has the website on it, but I will link that website below to where I got it. So there you go. But that kind of just explains it all. So if you all want to have just take a good look at that, then that would be fantastic. Now I'm going to get on to the first points. I'm going to try and keep them short and succinct, but knowing me, I do like a good ramble, so this may take a while. So the first point I'm going to mention is happiness. Now this is kind of a general thing. I think as pet owners we do generally put our emotions onto our animals. So this can be taken in either way really, but I do feel that having a bigger cage for your guinea pig has a massive effect on their mental and physical well-being along with their happiness. So I previously did have my two guinea pigs when I just had Clara and Arabella. I had them in a 100 by 50 centimetre double story cage, and sadly, even though they had floor time generally most of the day and I'd only really put them in at night, they were, you could tell that looking back in hindsight, it's a great thing that you could tell that they weren't so happy. I mean, Arabella used to chew on the bars and shake the door because she wanted to get out, because I used to let them just run around my room, and Clara was just very sedentary and didn't really run or anything until she got out. I think that has a big part to play in how your guinea pig's feeling. They're probably going to generally be a little bit more uptight and everything if they are in a small cage and they don't have that room to kind of get rid of that energy, and they're going to be bored. They're going to have no space to do what they want to do and display natural behaviours, and it's going to be a hard old life for your little guinea pig. Often people compare it to people living in one small box room for the whole of their life and not having space or the choice to be able to do things that they want to do. So sadly, a lot of guinea pigs are sold in pet shops and are recommended these tiny little cages, and these guinea pigs spend their whole lives living like that, and it's just really, really sad. So if anyone really thinks that their guinea pig is happy in a really small cage that's not at least the minimum, I hate to tell you, but they probably aren't. So for your best interests for your guinea pig, it is best to have a look at what you can do and possibly, well, hopefully expand and give them a bigger cage. A lot of people, I think, use excuses that they can't afford it, or they couldn't afford it initially to get a bigger cage, or they now can't afford it. Now, if you can't afford to either give them a bigger cage when you first get one or give them even a bigger cage now, what will you do if your guinea pig needed medical attention or something like that? Or what do you do when you have to feed your guinea pig hay and nuggets? How do you afford that? So that's a really big thing to consider, to be fair, before even getting a guinea pig. You want to make sure that you're going to have the adequate space and the adequate amount of funds to fund guinea pigs, because I think as much as guinea pigs are sold as kind of starter pets and everything, they really aren't. They take up a lot of time and they're quite expensive. So overall they probably work out okay, reasonably, priced and everything, but when vet bills come into it, it's a whole different story. So that's another thing to consider. Now, the next point is space to run and display natural behaviour. So I touched on that a bit. So even with the floor time, it's not enough, and not everyone's going to want to run when they're put out in a massive grass field. If you don't feel like doing that at that certain time, your piggy probably doesn't feel like doing something that you want it to do at a certain time. So it might want to start running laps in the middle of the night when you're asleep and it's in its tiny little cage, which isn't fair on it, and that is a massive reason to why it is such an important thing to put them in an adequate sized cage. The next point is also very closely related to the previous two, which is exercise, which leads on to your health of the piggy. So basically, giving them more room is allowing them to run around and display those behaviours that they want to do, and in turn this makes for a much happier and healthier piggy. Now this is also mentally and physically, so generally guinea pigs can get overweight without exercise, so having this bigger cage means that they can exercise at any time of day that they possibly want. So that's a really good thing, but also it's mental stimulation having a much bigger cage and more activities and space for them to do things. So that's also a really big benefit for them. The next point is room to get away from each other. So most guinea pigs are very social animals, and it is recommended that you at least have 2 guinea pigs together unless there's a really good reason, like health wise, or some piggies just don't take. So a great example of videos like that are from Valerie's zoo, which again I will link down below because she does some great videos on adopting piggies that she's rescued, or she helps with rescues. So she's got a lot of experience about bonding guinea pigs and why some have to be alone, but also how to kind of like help them try to introduce them to other piggies safely. So some piggies, like I said, are social, and some piggies have tiffs with each other. Now I'm not talking about full-on blown fights because that's time obviously to step in and remove them from each other, but I'm talking about little tiffs. Now my girls are prime examples of that because Arabella is a little bossy boots, so she does like to have, you know, her say, and generally she is the dominant one. You want to have a space for them to be able to get away from each other so they're not kind of constantly in each other's space and annoying each other, because that would really highly grate on anyone. If you were constantly next to someone in this tiny little room, they would get on your nerves. So that is also a great point, because sometimes people with smaller cages then sadly find out that their guinea pigs start fighting, and that's because that they haven't got enough room. And guinea pigs are pretty territorial animals, so you have to be very careful with the size that you have for the amount of piggies. The next point is mainly for your piggies, but also it's a benefit for us as owners. So there's much more room for beds and toys. Now this means you have more fun shopping and getting all these new exciting things for your guinea pigs. So this is going to provide extra stimulation as well, but also you're going to have way more room so that they can still have those good runs around their cage, but also be able to snuggle up or play with these toys that you have kindly given them. Now this also leads on to the fact that you can decorate your cage more because there's way more space and a lot more room to provide extra toys and all that kind of stuff. This in turn makes your guinea pig much more happier and stimulated. That's also a big thing about having guinea pigs. I generally swap over their toys every single time I do a cage clean, because it stimulates them having different toys every time. So if you're leaving the same kind of toy in there, they're going to get bored of it quite quickly. So I do like to swap them out, and I do recommend that to people who have piggies, or even don't have that many toys but you want to circulate them a bit. The next bit is they don't get as messy, but it's not that they don't get messy, it's more that the rate of the mess is much slower than if they were in a tiny little cage. Now if they're in a tiny little cage, they've only got a certain few areas where they can like go to the toilet and things like that, whereas in a bigger cage they have a much bigger space and choice where to go. Generally pigs seem to do it in their food, and that seems to be a really good thing for them to do according to the piggy world, but I will never understand it, however. But my girls insist on doing that too. So having a bigger cage means you've got more of a chance to clean things out and keep it nice and hygienic for your guinea pigs. So they're not sitting on loads of like soiled bedding and everything like that. So that's a great thing. The last point, which I think is pretty important for guinea pig owners, and I would think it's a big part of actually having them, is that it's way more enjoyable to watch them. Now, as owners, we get to look after these animals and provide these wonderful little homes for them and all this love and care and everything. But one of the best bits about owning guinea pigs, personally for me, is watching them and just, it sounds really weird, I sound like a stalker, but basically watching them is one of my favourite things to do with them, because I love to see them running and popcorning and everything. So that's a great thing with a bigger cage. You've got way more space for them to have all this fun. This is a great benefit to having the adequate size cage. It's not even a massive cage, I'm talking even just about the minimum. It's going to provide so much more entertainment and space and happiness for your guinea pig that I don't see a reason why not to do that. So those are really all of the points, and I do apologise if I've rambled a bit, but I've quite enjoyed this little video, doing a little chatty one, so I will probably continue and probably maybe do a series of this, but we shall see. So thank you so much for watching, and if you think there are any points in this video that I either could have mentioned or you don't agree with, do message me down below, and then I can get back to you as soon as possible. And also other guinea pig owners or rabbit owners can have a look and give their advice as well. So anyway, thank you very much for watching, and I shall speak to my next one. Bye!